If you have been searching for the perfect personal size notebook, I don't know if it's perfect, but it's pretty darn close. And I want to show you what it's like and why I love it so much. One of the hardest things to find in the journaling world is a personal sized notebook that has substance. And I designed these to fit all of the personal sized leather goods that we offer. So you don't need to worry about that. This is 416 pages, so it will definitely get you through an entire year. And if you use a page a day, you will have several pages left over, so you don't need to worry about running out. It has 5mm grid inside, which is just beautiful. It is a stitched binding that can fold over on itself. So let's say you get to the end and it's hard to write on because the end is over here and it's really thick. So what you can do is you can divide this part in half, and then you can fold it over, and then you can write, and it's a lot more even. So you can write here on the last 16 pages or so, or even the very last page, and it's like writing on silk. It's so great. So it's a lay flat binding, so it'll lay flat, and it's a dream. It's a dream. And I did not number the pages because I seldom use page numbers. And I designed this to be my ideal notebook. And if you were in the boat with me, then great. If not, if you have to have page numbers, I get that. I understand. And the next time I have these made, I probably will add page numbers. But the first time I did not. Let me tell you about some other features that I have in here. So it's going to be hard to see on here. You're just going to have to trust me that they're here. I will try to take some footage with my iPhone because it allows me to get really close and get all that detail. And I'm just going to show you, the guides that I had put in. I put in a center square. There's a tiny little square here and a tiny little square down here, and that denotes the center of the page. There's also a tiny little square here and here, also letting you know the center of the page. And then along the sides here, so the first one is 7 squares down, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So the first circle is 7 squares down, and that's so that you can have a header across the top. And then every 5 squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's another circle. And that way you can divide the page quickly and easily. The reason why I love plain grid notebooks is because it can be anything you want it to be. It can be a journal, a planner, it can be a sketchbook, it can be an art book, it can be literally anything that you want it to be. They're my absolute favorite. They are my go-to. Doesn't matter the size. It could be a B5, it could be a pocket, it could be a passport size. This is always my preference. And since I was making something I wanted to love, I did, and I hope you come along with the journey with me. It's the Sanson Tomoe River paper. And I want to show you, first let me show you how it fits into a couple notebooks, and then I'm going to show you what the inside looks like. Like I did a pen test and I want to show that to you. So this is the sample here. This is in the number 11, which is currently being crowdfunded. So if you want to get your hands on the brand new number 11 in the Brooklyn leather, really quick, this was named by one of you, huge shout out to them, but she named it and I love the name, so we went with Brooklyn, and it's currently being funded. So if you want to fund it, if you want to get your hands on one of these, that's where you're going to do it. But here it is in the personal size number 11, and incidentally it will also fit the 10. I just don't have a 10 in front of me to show you, but it's the same size, so of course it's going to fit. And then this is a sidekick, And of course it's going to fit inside the sidekick. Let's just come out just a hair. There we go. So there's the sidekick, and it fits in there just great. So no worries there. And you can also fit more in there. So you have plenty of room to fit more inserts, like the way this one has more in it. So it's got the notebook, and then it's got a couple of inserts in there, and that's not a problem at all. You can totally fit that in there. It doesn't really fit, and it's not intended to be used inside the traveler's notebook style. And the traveler's notebook style has the elastics up here. So it's not intended for that. And I'll show you with this one that it doesn't, I don't know. Let me see. Let me just take this one out. I don't need those in there. I also don't want to use that other one because it's a hardback, and this is not a hardback. So if you want to use it in the traveler's notebook, it does fit in that back pocket on the number 11. None of the other ones have this back pocket, so you can put it in there. And it's a nice chunky fit. Oh, I like that. I hadn't put it in there before, and I love it. Yeah, wow, okay. Yeah, it does fit in there. It fits in the number 11 or Brooklyn Traveler's Notebook. So there you go. That makes my heart really happy. But yeah, and then this of course is the Chic Sparrow pen here, which you can still get for until those supplies run out, but it's there. Let's look at the inside. And I did do a video over on Instagram. I did a live, and I went through page by page and showed you what the inks look like and everything. So let's go ahead and do that here. Let me just start off by telling you why I love Tomoe River paper so much, especially this one, because this one reminds me of 2018, 2019. 2018, I feel like the paper was just perfect for me. And then something happened, the manufacturers, and y'all know the story. And then I just quit using it because I couldn't stand it, because the inks took forever to dry and it just was not the right experience for me. This paper, the ink dries fairly quickly, and it acts exactly like the old Tomoe River paper, which is my preference. So I'm very happy about this. But let me see if I can zoom you in and show you why I like it. If you're not familiar with Tomoe River paper, can you see the shading? But the shading is so beautiful. And the ink that this is written in, it's document ink in the color Urban Sienna. I like to do my calendars like this. And so I have my month at a glance, and then my notes over here. This really works for me. I've been doing it for a long time. This is a sample. I'm not actually using this one. I use a different one, but I wanted to be able to show it to you without worrying that you guys were going to see something that I wanted to keep private. I hope you understand that. But here is a layout, and you have 32 boxes down and 17 boxes across on each page. You can definitely get an entire month plus a header, and you're all set. On the other side, I have a place for notes. And then again, this is my guide, 32 down, 17 across. And then I divide it up so that I know how many squares I need in order to make columns and rows and everything. That's like a little cheat sheet, and you can do that in yours as well. And then this is a layout using the page cut in half or quarters. And so that gets an entire week plus a to-do list on one page. This one here is a layout using the dots, and you can get your entire week. And then I split the weekend in half. I don't plan a lot on the weekends, so that works for me. However, if you do, you can just decrease the amount of squares you use. So this one here used 5 squares. This one uses 4. And then you get Saturday and Sunday in their own box, and everything's even and everything. You can set up, your imagination is your limit, really. And again, this is another quadrant type deal, a vertical planning, and then down here you can have your to-do lists for each day or whatever it is that you want to use it for. That was just what I set up. And then, yeah, so it goes Monday through Thursday, and then you have Friday, Saturday on the next page, and Sunday also. And then you have your master to-do list if you want. I had folded this in half, and then you turn it like that, and then you have your weekend here. But you don't have to fold it. That's just something I did. And then I wrote a little calendar right there. But yeah, you can put your little calendar here. And then if you'd like to do an entire calendar on 2 pages, of course you have that ability as well with plenty of room for notes. The grid is 4 by 4, and you have 4 columns on this side, 3 columns on that side. The 4th column is taken up by my title. The color here is watercolor because one of the things I love about Tomoe River paper is that you can watercolor on it and it doesn't bleed through. There's no bleed through on this side or this side, and it's nice and bright and it adds a lot to the page without bulking up the page. But it does make the page characteristics change a little because hear the crinkle. I love that. Yeah, so that's the design there. And then of course the world's your oyster. With a blank notebook, there's so much you can do, and there's really no limit. It's limitless. Okay, so let's look at some ink samples, and then you can get a feel, if you have never used this paper before, you can get a kind of feel for what your ink might look like on here. I have a bunch of different inks that I tried. Part of the joy of using fountain pens is finding the right pen for your notebook, and when you find that, when you match your pen and your notebook together and you find that perfect duo, then you pretty much just stick to that the whole time. The pen, it's actually a trio, perfect trio: the pen, the ink, and the notebook. So that's what you're looking for there. These are different fountain pens and different inks, and this pen here, which is my longtime favorite pen, it's the Pilot Custom Heritage 92. It has never worked well on Tomoe River paper for me, so I don't use it on Tomoe River paper, and that's because it has a flex nib. If you have this pen but it does not have the super fine flex nib, then you're probably going to be just fine. But for me, it's too wet and also too scratchy for the paper, and it bleeds. It not bleeds, but it shadows pretty well, like a lot more than any other pen. So yeah, they all work just fine except for that pen, which is right there. And up here, the carbon black. I don't remember what pen it was in. But if you do use that ink, if you do use the carbon black ink, just use it in a finer tip nib. This was a broad nib. So, you know, it's just use a finer tip and then you won't have that. So Crayola Super Tips. Love these for this paper. It's so great, and it like barely shows through on the other side. Tombow markers, also a great choice. They don't really show through too much. What you're seeing here is actually transfer from over here, and these are glitter pens, glitter gel pens, and more glitter gel pens. These ones are the Sargent glitter pens. These ones are the Yummy glitter pens. Dual tip doodlers, I think I got these from Office Depot, and I would not recommend them. They completely bleed through. Nice and bright, but they bled completely through. Paint pens, I like metallic paint pens. However, I wouldn't recommend them for this paper because it also will bleed through. Please don't do that. Friction highlighters, of course, they did great. Mine seem to be dying though, and the color's not very vibrant. I don't actually like friction highlighters. However, if you do, then you're in for a treat because they don't bleed through, or they barely even ghost. So use those. be great. Glitter jelly rolls are beautiful. Love them. Love me a good jelly roll pen. The purpley one bled through, and that's to be expected. That's a normal thing for these kind of pens to do because they have a dual type of ink. They have a really dark ink, and then they have the glittery thing in there, and the glitter part stays on top of the paper, and then the pigmented part soaks into the paper. So that is par for the course for those particular pens. Gel highlighters, they're like crayons, and those are the ones that I like. They did just great. A little bit of shadowing on the pink, which is normal. Every pink highlighter I've ever owned always shades. Doesn't matter. It always does, and I'm not exactly sure why. Probably something to do with the pigment. Sharpie S Note and highlighters and Bic highlighters. So they're more pigmented. Crayola Take Note, they did pretty well. Bic Crystal 1.6 millimeter, they did pretty well. Shading, of course. Mild liners, they did really well. Shading, but they didn't soak through. And then brush tip markers at the top, and then Paper Mate Flare at the below, and both of those did okay. These are gel pens, and I did a smear test on them because gel pens tend to smear on this paper. There is a gel pen that doesn't, and it's actually at Walmart, and it is the Pen and Gear gel pen. That one, I don't have it here to show you, but it dries really fast, and it's really nice. It's one of my favorite gel pens. So those are all gel pens. And this one up here, this R2, is from the Dollar Tree, and it soaked through, but as you can see, it's got a really broad nib, and it's super wet, so it did bleed through a little bit. These are more gel pens and different like pigment liners and a whole bunch of things. So they're all there, and some of them did better than others. It's just trial and error. And then more gel pens. I have so many pens. More gel pens, and as you can see, they did pretty well. And these are some more fountain pens that I tried on, and they did pretty well too. That carbon black in a different pen, it's a lot darker, and that is a very black ink. So I don't know if you want that or not, but there it is. And then this bled through. This is with the Pilot Heritage pen. And then, yeah, there we go. So that is what the notebook looks like. It is, I gotta pull it out of here. It is the Tomoe River Paper 52 GSM. It is, let me see how thick it is. Let me pull this out. It is just one tick over half an inch. It is 3.75 inches wide, 6.75, let me just make sure, 6.75 inches tall, and just one little 1/16 of an inch past half an inch thick. So it's not too thick. 416 pages, and the color of the page is white. It is white with a light gray, like dashed grid. That's what that has. This is available right now on the website. All you have to do is just go to the website. It's even on the front page, so it's really easy to find. Thank you so much for joining me. If you would like to see how I use this, then check out this video. All right, bye-bye.